Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. One thing that's extremely fascinating is the fact that when you're always vindicated, well, you seem to be a little bit proud of yourself. You know what I mean? And one of the most important thing that I have been putting a lot of emphasis on is the idea that it would be a really bad idea if America was to get involved in a war with Iran. And everybody not everybody, but the majority of Americans today understand that the reason why we're trying to attack Iran is not to benefit America, but rather is so Israel can be safer, according to their, whatever safe it is. Because since the creation of the state of Israel, they've always been in conflict. Okay. And I went ahead and compiled some clip for you guys to react to, so that way I can just elaborate a little bit more because I feel like it's extremely important that people should understand that if and when this war is to happen, for one, I want to be in history knowing that I was on the right side of history, and two, I also want to be the one to say, "Told ya." So let's go ahead and first listen to the first clip from Tucker Carlson, and here's one reason as to why America should not get involved in this war with Iran.
But we haven't heard those, and the president hasn't really explained them other than to say Iran is bad. Yes, that's been the official U.S. position since 1979. Iran can have nukes. That's always been the president's position.
And if there's so much articles out there of one of the Iranian in high position in the government literally saying that they're not going to build nuke, they don't want to build nuke, but obviously they need an excuse to attack Iran. So there's America, or should I say the media, is emphasizing the fact that Iran is on the verge of building a nuclear bomb. So that way, when they finally decide to attack, they can run off of that.
We would like some kind of settlement. The reason he's not eager to start this war is because he, in general, isn't eager to start wars, hasn't been anyway.
Right.
But because this would be a particularly tough war. This is the largest buildup since the Iraq War, but Iran is not Iraq. It's much, much, much bigger and much more technologically advanced. The population of Iran is about 92 million. In 2003, almost exactly 23 years ago, when we rolled into Baghdad, the population of Iraq was 25 million. So Iran is more than 3 times bigger. The landmass of Iran is multiple, 6 times bigger. It's huge. It's a huge, pretty advanced country compared to Iraq. So that's a problem right there. This is a serious thing to start a war with a real country. Are we in a position to do that? Well, there's some debate about that. The U.S.
Also, keep in mind that China and Russia is also helping out Iran.
Military performs in a remarkable way under certain circumstances. But is the U.S. military right now ready for a prolonged conflict with a big country? No, it turns out. And these are facts taken from open source material that have been published. They're on the internet. You can look it up. None of this is classified. This is all out there. But current estimates suggest that the United States is so low on some munitions, partly because we've used them in the defense of Israel already in the last 12 months.
There you go.
But whatever the cause, the United States is so low on certain kinds of munitions that were we to have even a brief but intense engagement with Iran, our military would not be ready for like 10 years to fight a real war against, a peer or near peer adversary.
So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that's Exhibit 1. America does not have enough ammunition to fight Iran. And like I said, China is also getting involved. Russia is also getting involved. But I was watching this not documentary. I was watching this video by Propaganda Cole, and he went ahead and pulled up the titles of this article. And this was part of my video. Why Trump suddenly declared victory over the Houthis militia. The militant group in Yemen was still firing at ships and shooting down drones while U.S. forces were burning through ammunition. So this is extremely important. Why is this very, very important? Because for one, we have been fighting the majority of the war in the Middle East on the behalf of the state of Israel. And people think that we still have a lot of weapons. Yes, America does have a nuclear bomb, so on and so forth, blah, 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 blah. But that's like the last resort. America's not going to resort to that unless there's no other options left. But I'm not going to react to this whole entire video of Ryan Meta. But the reason why I picked this video is crucial. And here's why.
So if you'll allow me 10 to 15 minutes of your time, buckle up. We're going to kick things off with a quote from Netanyahu. This is word for word, verbatim, from the Jerusalem Post by Benjamin Netanyahu in 1990. If we get caught...
Before he starts reading this, just like I said, they are reading. Right now, we are in Pax Americana, meaning America is a superpower. At first, it was Britannica. That was the superpower back then. Then they got transferred to America. Now we are in a transitioning phase where we are now trying to create Pax Judaica. And to create Pax Judaica, an empire has to fall. All right. So now that you have that in mind, listen to what Benjamin Netanyahu said. And again, he said this back in 1990.
They will just replace us with a person from the same cloth. So it doesn't matter what you do. America is a golden calf, and we will suck it dry, chop it up, and sell it off piece by piece until there is nothing left but the world's biggest welfare state that we create and control. Why? Because it's God's will. And America is big enough to take the hit, so we can do it again and again and again. This is what we do to the countries that we hate. We destroy them very slowly, but we make them suffer for refusing to be our slaves.
So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that's what Benjamin Netanyahu said back in 1990. And, it's not the first time that he has been caught saying something against America that clearly shows that they hate this country. They don't want America to, I wouldn't say exist, but they don't want America to flourish. Okay. And that's why I said in my previous video that they're like a bunch of parasites. And they're sucking all the nutrition that they can possibly get out of it. And as soon as they're done, they're going to move on to the next host. And the next host is already lined up. Right now, the rumor is that India is the next host. India is going to be next in line to become, I guess you can say, a country that they can leech off of to protect themselves in the Middle East. Another example that I can give is after 7/11 happened, he was caught. They wiped this off, but I have record of it in my previous video, where he was caught saying that 7/11 was the best thing that could have ever happened to the state of Israel. I mean, one of our greatest ally, I don't know why he would say something like that. All right. And there's also another video where he says that America is like extremely easy to mold. And, he said it's absurd that the popularity, Israelis popularity in America is so high, and he doesn't even know why. And like Americans are very easy to manipulate. You could find all of these records on the internet, but that's not the subject today. The subject is that getting into a war with Iran is going to be a disaster for America, and all it's doing is just setting up Israel to be the next superpower. So this is going to be the outcome of the war. Let's go ahead and listen to it, and then I'll give my commentary.
Let's say the United States attacks Iran. Maybe Iran just says, you're absolutely right. We're evil. We're rolling over. Everybody in charge is going to retire, commit ritual suicide. We're going to turn it over to some Western Democrat who brings in pro-choice politics and gay marriage. And we're cool. We're going to
Reza Pahlavi, the big-nosed dude.
Join NATO at that point. That's great. But what if Iran decides better to die on your feet than on your knees, and just unleashes its conventional arsenal against American assets in the region, against Israel, and critically, against energy infrastructure in the Gulf? What would happen then? Well, you would see a global depression if they did that, if they were successful in doing that. If the extraction facilities and refineries and petrochemical plants in the Gulf were disabled, how expensive would oil be per barrel? How much would gasoline cost? What would steel go for? What would happen to liquefied natural gas, which goes to both Europe and China? What would happen to Europe if you disrupted the flow of LNG from the Gulf to Europe? What would happen if you close the Straits of Hormuz, the choke point at the end of the Persian Gulf? Whew. Wouldn't destroy the world forever, probably, but it would tank the economy in the meantime, for sure. And who would suffer most? Well, let's see. the Gulf states, Europe, and the United States.
Have you guys ever seen a society that is in a position where they're forced to fight for resource? I mean, we are living in a nuclear age, and if resource becomes scarce, everybody's going to be fighting to try to, to sustain their country. And the Israelis are very much aware of that. They're not stupid. That's why Argentina, or should I be more specific, what's that land area in Argentina that they're trying to burn? I forgot the name. Patagonia. I think that's why they're burning that, so that way they can buy these land and move over there, while we up in the north suffer from the after effect of all the nuclear bomb that's going to be going off.
It's kind of weird that anybody, especially an ally, would push for a conflict that's almost guaranteed to hurt its so-called allies.
So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, based off of the little, speech of Netanyahu back in the 1990s, now does it make sense to you why they're trying to drag America into this war? Benjamin Netanyahu has been calling for this war for over 30 years. He's been saying Iran is a threat. Iran is on the precipice of building a nuclear bomb for over 30 years. Iran is very close building a bomb. If Iran wanted to build a bomb, they would have already done it. They would have already done it. They didn't have to sign the IAEA agreement, even though they did that during the Obama administration, and then Trump comes in and then destroys it. And now they're saying that, oh, well, we need you to go back on there and we need you to make sure you do not build a nuclear bomb. It's like, wait a minute, you destroyed it. So now for my final and last video, this one is only 1 minute and 30 seconds. So you guys have already heard of the ship that's going near Iran having sewage problem. So apparently it appears, well, I'm not going to spoil it. Let's just go ahead and listen to this guy right here talk about it, and everything will make sense to you. Because I was like, there's no way something this expensive and they can't maintain something as simple as a sewage system. Doesn't make any sense until I saw this video.
I know from my sources in the Navy that sailors actually took undershirts and stuffed them into the toilets to cause them to back up.
What?
I know that the
So that's
crew's
true.
very, very unhappy with being at sea now for 10 months. And before this is over, it will have been a year. They went to Suda Bay. I think they tried to address some of this. And now they've pulled out of Suda Bay after 48 hours or a little more than that to repair things. But you're talking about something else that's hugely important. I don't want to go into great detail, but logistics in the region is very problematic right now. Places we formerly were able to utilize, we can't because of the Huckabee interview, frankly. That particular revelation has turned almost everybody against us in the region. So the Navy is now looking as far away as India and ports there that they can go to as required.
So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, America is in a very difficult situation, and the soldiers, the U.S. Army, they know that. They know, in fact, I wouldn't say generals, but people in high position in the army have been getting fired for speaking out against Israel. Even recently, one of them got fired because he said that Israel is one of the worst ally that America could ever have, and because of that, they had to terminate him. And I wanted to show you guys this because this is the global opinion of America has shifted. Global opinion of Israel has shifted. This was all strategic. This was all planned out. All right. Now that people don't really, again, people in the Middle East, I would say, Saudi Arabia and all these areas, Jordan, they don't want their airspaces to be used to attack Iran. All right. And the fact that he just mentioned the Mike Huckabee interview, in case you guys don't know what he's talking about, Mike Huckabee pretty much said that it's okay for Israel to take all these land that is part of Greater Israel. That if that's what is part of Greater Israel, so be it, And my previous video, I went over that. And so that's the reason why a lot of people are like, oh, even though it should have been very obvious from the get-go that this was the plan from the get-go. But all in all, I went on a little bit of a tangent here, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you got the message now. Yeah, if this war is to happen, I feel really bad for Americans, and the reason why I'm specifically saying Americans is because these, like, they don't have anywhere to go. You Americans, you have nowhere to go. A lot of immigrants here, guess what? They can go back to their own. If America was to collapse, God forbid, a lot of immigrants will go back to their country. They'll be like, well, we got no more use for America. It was the land of the free, land of opportunity. That's no longer the case. We got somewhere to be. But what about the people who have nowhere to go? What are you going to do? Absolutely nothing. Now you're going to have to rely on the immigrant that you didn't want in your country. Now you're going to rely on them to go back. You really think Mexicans are going to be happy with you? Even right now, Mexicans don't like the Americans going down into Mexico because Americans' wealth is vast. And so them going down there, they are inflating the prices of food and groceries and stuff like that in Mexico. And so the Mexicans are not happy about that. So now imagine if the war was to break out, America is on the verge of civil war, all right? Or let's say, God forbid, America is to collapse and people start to migrate down into Mexico. You think Mexicans are going to be happy? They won't. Same thing with Canada. You start to migrate into Canada. Canadians are most likely not going to be happy. And so it's going to have a ripple effect that's going to affect the whole entire globe altogether. But I guess only time will tell. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, if you made it this far, please don't forget to leave a like and sub, and I'll catch you guys up later.